Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast. Hope you enjoyed your rest day. Benji and I didn't rest. We were busy doing things. And today we have the recap of Stage 16 of the Tour de France brought to you by Morton. You'll see Morton products literally everywhere. If you walk around, if you sneak onto a team bus, I'm not advising you do that. It's illegal, but if you sneak onto every team bus, you'll see them. The riders before a TT taking the Morton bicarbonate product. It is the one used across the paddock, but we got a special product to mention later. We have a hilly TT. I feel sorry for the TT purists. I think we got to stop this. We have to stop hilly TTs. Can we please have a 50k flat TT? We have 10 kilometers at 4%, just like a... They're so used to doing this. All the riders that go to Sierra Nevada on altitude, they're all doing like gradients like this, maybe even steeper in the extensions. We have two intermediate checks halfway up that climb, and at the top, we then have a little plateau, then a very technical but newly paved descent. No one came a cropper on that descent, I don't think. Then we have very technical finish through Tournon-les-Bains, like a lot of corners, particularly with about 3Ks to go, and at the end of the descent, there's an intermediate time check at the end of the descent before the finish in Tournon-les-Bains. So about 8Ks of flat at the end, but technical, 10Ks of climbing, and 5Ks of descending. Do you agree with me on my TT bring back 250K flat TTs?
250-kilometer flat TTs in one Grand Tour is what you're saying?
Yeah, bring it back.
I think that's too much. I do want one very long flat time
Why
trial.
is it too much?
Because I enjoy watching one of those in the span of a Grand Tour. I'm not sure I'd enjoy two of those in the span of a Grand Tour.
But it can mean Remco can win, maybe not the Tour, but...
You say that, but last year in the flat time trial, 33 kilometers, what was the difference between Remco and Pogacar?
15 seconds.
So if it's 50 kilometers and you do that twice, it's not going to change the fact that Tadej Pogacar wins this Tour de France.
No. You're right. But what about a Giro? Okay, different. A Giro, if he's in this level against Vingegaard.
Okay.
I think it balances up.
What do you mean? You would argue that Jonas would take time on the flat time trial?
No, I'm saying Vingegaard could probably put a good Remco on 2-3 mins in the mountains.
Oh,
and then
against
Remco can take it back in the TT. And then you got a real battle.
I think that's a fair take. Like, I've already told you, I'm okay with a 50-kilometer flat time trial.
But not two.
But not two of them. That I think is a bit much. I'm okay with 180-kilometer time trial, if you want to make it extreme.
Oh, yeah, 180k flat TT. Now we're talking. Now we're in business. Sponsored by UK A-Road TTs.
Do you mean 180k TT or 180k TT?
a 180k TTT. With my Visma hat on, I'll endorse that one. Feeney Venner.
I would not watch that thing entirely.
Yeah, I'll endorse that one. But no, I don't want to see that. Anyway, Remco was the favorite. Pogacar did beat him in the Nice TT, but that was way more difficult. We should probably round off. It has been a hot topic, Benji. Before we do the results, the late night testing discussion. We had a CPA statement. We had an article in Le Corriere, Italian newspaper. We then had Adam Hansen in his personal capacity on his Twitter make a statement. We've had Jonathan Vorders make statements. We have David Walsh make statements. Tucker on his fantastic podcast on sport, he's speaking about it, and he always speaks about anti-doping. He's like, that is the podcast to listen to about anti-doping.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And yeah,
you don't want to know which Tucker I was thinking about when you said a podcast.
no, that's for your, that's what you listen to for LCP. Have you been surprised by how much discussion there's been? I think it's because the L'Equipe leak is what is really surprised me, in that an article came out in L'Equipe basically saying that this wasn't like some test that was just permitted because they're in the confines of a competition. Like, me and you just assumed this was allowed to happen. Maybe we're ignorant people, Benji. Probably true. We just assumed this was allowed to happen during a Tour de France because the race has authority over them.
Well, I think my take stems from a different place and yours as well, because first of all, rules-wise, what I knew on the day itself was, okay, there's maybe a certain period in the rules where a rider cannot be tested. That was my assumption when I saw the initial news. But then I also thought to myself, and I think you were the one that also looked at me and said this, I'm kind of surprised that this is already not a thing, like testing in the middle of the night. So I don't think it's a secret. I saw an article on Nieuwsblad where there's a doping expert, I think Peter van Eno is, I think, his name, that spoke about certain products that can be used overnight and be out of your system within X amount of hours. And if that time slot of, I don't know what it's called, like a disappearance time slot, if that is lower window, than the if that window is lower than the amount of hours that you can't test someone overnight, then I think that rule is wrong.
I agree, and that's why everyone's had their opinion on it, but apparently the testers, according to this L'Equipe article, went to a magistrate to get the approval to do this. We've subsequently learned today there were other teams tested at night, but maybe not in that window.
So the initial thing is they went to a French judge to get, I assume, approval to be able to test Jonas and Tadej within that nightly time period at 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. In terms of the other teams that were tested, based on what I could perceive, was that they did so at, I think, within the normal time slots. Just after they went to bed is a notion that came across to me.
Who's going to bed? No one's going to bed in the Tour de France at 10 o'clock, by the way. They fucking get to the hotels at 9 o'clock.
I just want to say, we probably wouldn't even know significantly about those secondary doping tests if the stuff from 2 days ago didn't happen, because those are normal time slot anti-doping tests. So
and because
I think that's completely beside the topic.
Exactly. Probably that's only public because journos have asked Decathlon, hey, have you guys got tested at night? And they're like, well, it was dark outside. It was like not light anymore, but it's not the same. I think the CPA statement was a little bit clunky, but I understand they sort of need to represent the riders. I more agree with Adam Hansen's statement, if you want to read it in his personal capacity, where he made the point that the riders, through their wages effectively, their wages are garnished to contribute to fund anti-doping, and he saying that there's a huge amount of testing across the year. How many riders in World Tour test positive? It almost never happens. But the human cost across all of those clean riders or riders not being caught is very, very high. Like, I've seen this firsthand. Riders are paranoid that like their doorbell might not work. Like riders, because they might miss a test or something. And he's right. There is and he's saying there should be more sophisticated equipment. I can sort of follow him on that, but it's launched this big debate about anti-doping. I agree with what Vorders said. I think Vorders come out on the right line of this.
Yeah, I think Vorders, I'll go get the exact tweet because I think it's an interesting one. He unblocked me on Twitter a couple weeks ago, so I can actually see the tweet, which is nice. He says, I don't post here much, but I'll roll this grenade down the aisle. 2 a.m. testing is one of the very effective ways to prevent peptide, which I actually don't know what that means. It says between brackets EPO and I think human growth hormones, and testosterone microdosing. If UCI had tested us in 2001 at 2 a.m., we'd all have been suspended and saved the sport 25 years of drama. That was the essence of his tweet that he launched into the Twitter abyss. Now, I actually think my take is related to that as well, and partially the reason that, yes, I agree with the human side of things that you bring up, but on the other end, the sport has brought itself to this place. It has never completely cleaned up the past, and as a consequence, I can't look at this sport and say, I'm shocked that we're doing in the middle of night testing in the sport of cycling. If anything, I think it's normal that it should.
And listen, I didn't want to spell it out too much, but JV did it as well, so credit to him. And he's literally said, we were using products 25 years ago that if you didn't test during that window, you wouldn't piss hot. And you need as a deterrent the ability to test in that window to prevent people taking them or catch people taking them. He said, you would have caught us. So JV's kind of spelled out why it should happen or not. And he also said, and he said, one bad night's sleep is not the biggest sacrifice to have the sport's credibility upheld. And yeah, I also kind of agree with that. That's different to like the year round, whether it's how effective is it, this burden on everybody, when it's not really catching like guys regularly, which maybe also means it's a deterrent and everybody's clean. Could be. Hopefully it is. But he's saying it's a worthwhile sacrifice during the Tour de France as well. I don't normally always agree with JV, but I think he has a fair point on this issue.
I think so as well. And I think the last topic to mention in this specific topic is, I think related to that French judge, that a lot of things I saw is that to be able to get that approval, you need to have some serious suspicion or whatever, or specific evidence. I don't know what the exact terminology was that I saw popping up everywhere, because I didn't prepare this topic for this podcast because I expected to talk about the stage. That being said, how much do we know? Like, I would love to hear more transparency on how this decision was made. Does that make sense? Because right now, I don't know whether that was done based on any suspicion or whether that's a judge that I don't really know how the French justice system works. I've got maybe a naive distrust of justice systems, and then I'm like, okay, was this just?
You're right. You don't know the threshold of what the person saw.
Yeah.
What it was, and maybe that never comes out because frankly it's not necessarily should be public. I was quite surprised to see that L'Equipe article, frankly. I was like, why is this information in here? Why is this public? Like, this shouldn't be public information, but
credits to the journalist though.
Yep. So anyway, we had more. We'd see if it would affect. I think Red Bull had testing late at night, but it's part of the Tour de France furniture. We'll see what happens. Luke
said in the chat here, and I quote: "Serious and corroborating suspicions is what is necessary apparently for that approval to be made." I'd like to see some transparency then on that process.
Well, I think our point is also like that process, if that's the rules, it needs to be followed and it needs to be, transparent. I think where me and you were coming from was the rules should be changed. The rules should be changed. Me and you were like, skip that. There should be no suspicion needed. It's if you're in the Tour de France, we are able to test you at night if we want. That's where me and you were coming from, and skip that process. But if that's the rules, then hopefully that's we'll see. Maybe nothing.
Anyway,
also these things don't necessarily should be public. It relates to people's personal information, so maybe nothing comes out. Actually, hopefully nothing does. Anyway, the TT. I told you the parcours, and then you've probably forgotten it by now.
Nah, hill flat. That's basically it, right?
Remco Evenepoel, the fastest T2 I've ever seen. That T2 is the best intermediate time check in the history of cycling. No one's done a better intermediate time check than that. That Remco T2, I literally went, what the fuck? That was Remco Evenepoel obliterates everybody in this TT. They couldn't have designed a better one for him. Because he doesn't care that it's 4%. He's in the extensions on 4%, going 40 k's an hour, tucked in like the aero bullet he is, and he beats Pogacar. Then he does a good descent, not the best descent, but a good descent. And then he's probably hearing that Lipovic's crashed at the end of that descent, so that's not the best thing to hear in the radio. And then he obviously smokes the finish. Remco wins the TT by 28 seconds over Pog, which is me and you. I thought 15 to 20. So he's really smoked Poggy there. Skelmo's the big upset of the day. Skelly
Yeah.
says, look at me, I'm the captain now. Third in the TT, the best of the rest. 104. Sykesas 116. Del Toro 121. Catania 141. Red Bull flying. Lippo probably would have been fourth or third. So Red Bull would have had like 3 in the top 7. Aronsman 146. We'll get to him in a second. Armorel 155. Castrillo very good from Movistar 159. Tarling 202. How do you rate this Remco TT, Benji?
It's pretty good. Pretty good time trial this time. Like, how you rate it is difficult to say, but it's probably one of his most impressive victories, I would say, that I can remember. Even though last year's World Championships, ITT was pretty impressive as well, lapping Tadej Pogacar. Now, it's quite fun because before this time trial, I feel like we were not completely sure Remco would win. He was the favorite, but Pogacar could be named because of the fact that even last year in the Tour de France, in that 33-kilometer flat time trial, he was not that far behind Remco Evenepoel. But Remco was flying today. We saw it at the first time check. Even at the start line, Patrick, he was already 10 seconds faster than Damon Arensman. We'll get to that. But that to the side, it is the expectation that we had to see Remco Evenepoel taking such time on Paul Sixels, Del Toro, etc. for the GC. The added factor, though, is that I was expecting Sixels to maybe take a little bit more time on Del Toro. And I think that's more credit to Del Toro because his time trial was actually really good.
Yeah, I think this isn't on Sykes. I think he does a very good TT, or pretty good. Maybe Algarve Sykes. What do you do in Algarve? Algarve, he was fourth. But yeah, I think this is a good TT from Sykes. And I think Del Toro has done a better TT than I expected. I expected Del Toro around like Catania Aronsman, frankly. So, which is still a good TT, but it's 25 seconds he would have needed to lose third. And so Del Toro's just done a really, really good time trial as well. I think if we go to, Aronsman, what happened with him? Because you mentioned he lost 10 seconds at the laser starter.
Well, I was looking at the starting podium and his bike was there ready, and then Arensman wasn't there. And then 9 to 10 seconds later, Arensman starts his time trial 10 seconds late. And the way the sport of cycling works is that if you're late, you're late. So Arensman's time started rolling the time that he was supposed to start if you're late. Now, that's the weird thing, Patrick, because if hypothetically, my time to start a time trial is right now, I go off the starting ramp, my time only starts ticking from when I go over the little thingy on the road that tracks your time. But if you're late, that's when it switches to your schedule time. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah. I think
that's my assumption.
Yeah. And then you start getting the real time.
So Arensman in this case started too late. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. Apparently he was really focused on the time trial, maybe overly focused, that like reverse balanced it towards unfocused because he wasn't there when it had to be started. So he maybe too much trying to focus, trying to get locked in that, I don't know. It's hard to take a grasp here. I don't think Arensman did it on purpose. I think I don't think he was like, oh, I'm not thinking about the time trial. I think it's more like, I'm thinking about it and then just lost the plot for a second, right? That's my assumption.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever missed your stop at a train station, Mr. Graver? So
what reference is that?
It's just I'm sorry, it's an inside joke. Someone missed there's a big Ineos super fan that was getting mad about Aronsman missing their time trial start today. And they then were watching the race and they missed their train. I'm not even making it up.
What are you talking about?
There's an Ineos fan texting me that was like pissed that Aronsman missed the start of his TT. And then he went, oh shit, I've missed my train because I was watching the TT. I was like,
could happen to
anybody. Could happen to anybody, mate.
So, and also I don't want to see, like, reality is it's a blunder. It's a blunder by Ineos and by Arensman that he starts his time trial 10 seconds late, especially when he finishes that time trial, he's actually, 5 seconds faster than Cataneo at the finish. So that's devastating. But on the other hand, I thought he was 5 seconds faster, but the finish is 5 seconds slower. oh, that's because the ticker we saw on the on the broadcast says he was 5 seconds faster, but then they plussed the 10 seconds onto it, Patrick.
No.
The broadcast time was without the 10 seconds.
No.
That's why he's on the finish line behind Cattaneo.
That's mad.
I didn't realize that until now, seeing the finish. Because on the broadcast, he was before Cattaneo by 5 seconds. So they added the 10 seconds afterwards.
Okay. Let me get our descender of the day. Let's see who was the quickest on the descent. Joshua
Remco?
Tarling, congratulations.
Really?
By 9 seconds, hit 66 k's an hour. Can you guess who was second quickest on the descent?
Yes, because I'm looking at it. Florian Lipovic.
Yeah, that's surprising. Surprising, isn't it?
It is surprising, but we won't bury the lead on the outcome. He ends up crashing in a corner. In doing so, hitting the curb really hard with both his shoulder and maybe his head. There was a barrier with padding on the road there, but it was behind the curb, so it wasn't very helpful for Lipovic, sadly. And as a consequence, he's out of this Tour de France, which is a pretty shit outcome to this time trial, similar to Jonas crashing out, was it Plateau de Solaison stage, so only 2 days ago. Lipovic was going to play a role, whether it's as a dual leadership role still, after Evenepoel is quite far ahead, or as a domestique for Remco in the last week. He was going to play a role. How bad do we see this for Evenepoel?
It doesn't change anything.
I think it does. I think it negatively affects Evenepoel that Lipovic is out. Because I do believe Lipovic would have locked in as a domestique if necessary to save P2 for Remco in the last week.
Okay. The team said yesterday that they were not expressly not doing that, and they thought it was more important that Lipovic continued to ride for top 5.
Well, his hand would have been forced at some point. That's what I believe.
Yeah, maybe. If Remco keeps being this strong, it won't matter because he's got time now on second, on third rather than we expected. And do UAE care about Del Toro being second rather than third, as opposed to really the wolves at the door is Sykes on 20 seconds off Del Toro? So I don't think unless they get rid of Sykes pretty quickly and get a big gap on him that they have the luxury to play with Remco.
And not just that, it's also the white jersey. It's not just the podium. In the white jersey, it's also Del Toro versus Sixas.
So I think Remco...
Ayuso had a horrible TT today. So he's in Narnia there, 2 minutes 30 behind now. Martinez, of course, getting a big loss on this time trial as well. But white and the podium is now basically between Del Toro and Sixas for third place. Or do you see anyone else that, like Little Trek, still has Ayuso and Skelmose? Do we think they're going to dare enough to risk a top 5 position for a podium position? I don't think Ayuso's level's good enough to try that right now. I think he's struggling the last couple of days.
He's 2.5 minutes behind Del Toro.
Yeah, that's why you need to try a Hail Mary to do it, and you need to risk something to be able to try something, you know?
But both of them are there because they're pacers, and they've just paced themselves, except for on Solaison. Ayuso did not pace himself. I think they're both where they are, to be honest. Like, Ayuso's going to be more worried about cracking and losing the top 5 than moving onto the podium based on how his legs look right now. I mean, this is a TT that should suit him. Good descender. He's a bigger GC rider. It's a shallow climb, power climb. He should be smoking this TT, frankly. And he's
struggling.
He's not competitive with the other bigger guys in this TT. It's a minute. That's a huge amount. It's a 32-minute TT, and he's lost. I'm not even to Remco. I'm talking like his peers. He's losing a minute to Del Toro. They're about the same size. Del Toro is not a specialist either, and that's why I think Del Toro has done a very good TT. He is, he's not a specialist. He's just not had the time to. He's 22. He's probably not spent a huge amount of time on it. He's done some average TTs, particularly with climbs before. But today, I think that, it's a very, very good time trial, and he's defended well. So he should be really happy with that. When I look at his splits, he was third at T1. I think he went out a little bit too hard. Then he lost a few positions. He was sixth at T2. Then on the descent, he wasn't the best. But then you're losing. Okay, he's 11th fastest on the descent. Sykes is 5th fastest. We're talking a difference of 2 seconds. So it's not that much time difference. And then he's just defended himself admirably on the T3 to the finish. I think if it was a flat TT, it would have been worse for him. I think the climb helped him.
I think so as well, but I do think that if we look at the outcome of this time trial and look specifically at GC, where you've already spoken about Del Toro and Success being in P3 and P4, so fighting for the podium, Ayuso Skelmos are fighting for that 5th place, but also I don't think it's impossible for a Martinez or even a Pidcock if some crazy moves happen in this last week, because the Tour de France has already gone through basically 2 weeks, but in this last week there's some serious mountain stages. Stage 20 can make you crumble if you have a bad day. So P5 is not a complete lock for Trek either, especially with Ayuso being a bit of a red light, green light situation in the last couple of days. And on top of that, top 10, P9 is Jegan, 22 minutes 50 seconds. Vazar is 10th on 24:18. Van Wilder on 25:02. Carapaz on 25:45. I think he's going to enter that top 10 in the last week. Even Piganzoli could potentially, through a breakaway, end up in the top 10. So that's quite intriguing. I think we're going to have a really fun break battle in those mountain stages for top 10 candidates. And the thing is, there's a giant gap between P8 and P9 between Pidcock and Giga, which I think that will mean that if, for example, Giga goes in the breakaway, it might not mean that it snowballs into Pidcock going in the break immediately because there's a 10-minute gap, No,
in all these break stages, 9th through 15th will literally all be in the break together, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so too.
And you don't want to be the odd one out missing it. And then you can lose on a break stage. Your team has to pull. And they might not be able or willing to do that. I think this TT it just wasn't for the Ganners, the Tarlings of this world.
Yeah.
The climb was just too hard. It was too slow average speed for this TT. What do you make of? So Pogacar did T3 to the finish, slower than Del Toro. He was 10th.
T3 to the finish, so the flat part.
The flat last part.
Ooh.
He was slower than Sykes, slower than Skelmoser, slower than yeah.
There is an element in this race that Tadej Pogacar is 5 minutes ahead, so doesn't need to risk anything on the downhill, even in the flat corners. But I also didn't expect him to be 10th, Does that make sense?
Exactly. That's the thing. You're like, okay, he's not going to be as quick as the Aero Bullet on the flat. It's not realistic for anybody to be, or Tarling for that matter. But
is what you're trying to say that there's a tiny 1% chance that Remco wins this race?
No, I'm just saying Pog did maybe 10 to 15 seconds slower than we would expect.
Still finished second though.
Yeah. What do you mean? Of course he should finish second. It's a 48 average TT and it's Pogacar. What?
So the outcome doesn't really matter, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I'm not saying it matters. I'm saying Pogacar didn't do a good TT by his standards.
Is there any chance it's related to that little corner he overcooked in the middle of the flat section?
I'm not sure you lose 10 seconds there, but...
No, I mean, as a consequence of that, taking less risks afterwards.
Yeah, I agree with you that he doesn't have to take the risk. How does he lose this Tour de France? By doing something silly and crashing in a corner or a descent. I'm just saying that on a TT like this, we expect him to be on 15 seconds.
I think that's fair.
I did at least. But he
maybe 20 seconds.
He still puts 36 seconds into Skelmoser, so as you say, not like he did a bad TT either.
Big question, Patrick. Important question. Did Tadej Pogacar give this time trial to Remco Evenepoel?
I don't think so. I think Pogacar didn't use molten bicarb this morning when he was warming up. So I think that's probably one of the biggest issues for him. You saw some of the riders as well, like they were too G'd up at the start. With Morton bicarb, that traditional problems that bicarb might have upsetting your stomach, you don't have that with Morton. And what's new from Morton, it's just coming out in a couple of days, is Gel Mix 480. So you're like, what is Gel Mix 480? The clue is in the name. 120 grams of carbs in one packet. So every bottle, every gel, every feed zone matters in the Tour de France. The better you fuel your ride, the better chance you have of recovering and performing the next day. So, maybe you only need a gel 100 in your pocket, you think, but the new Gel Mix 480 really is geared towards people approaching the high carbohydrate fueling, like maybe not phenomenon, but requirement in endurance sports. It delivers, like with all of Morton's hydrogel technology products, the carbohydrates you need while reducing the risk of stomach issues. So if you would like to try Morton for yourself, you can get 15% off your order with the code LRCP Tour26 at morton.com. And if you're interested in the brand new Gel Mix 480, it's a bit of a different consistency. You got the drink mix, you got the gels. It's like a hybrid between the drink mix and the gels. I quite like the consistency because I like really thick, gloopy, sweet products. So I quite like it. If you want to try it out, Morton members get exclusive early access from 21 July, which I believe is today, maybe not in Hawaii yet. You can sign up to become a Morton member on their website. The link is in the show notes down below. Thanks to Morton for supporting the show. Yes, otherwise from the TT, I think everyone's kind of where they're supposed to be. I like the top 10 battle. Remco's now won as many Tour de France stages as Vingegaard.
Really?
Yeah.
That is low-key surprising.
Well, yeah, it is actually. It is actually a surprising stat. That's why I brought it up.
Wait, so 4 stages at the Tour de France?
3 TTs and Solaison. And he's won back-to-back stages now.
It's crazy that Jonas has only won 4 stages. For some reason in my head, he had one more in 2022.
Yeah, I think he could have, that stage on, what was it? No, because Hindley won on, when he dropped Pog, he didn't always win the stages. He dropped Pog on, the Laurent stage.
Yeah, 2023, right?
23, Hindley won the stage and took yellow.
And the day after, well, we know what happened there.
Yeah. And La Loza, Felix Gall won.
Yeah.
That year. Did he win a stage in 23? The TT.
He has to have won a stage.
The TT, I would say he won. Combloux.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, the nuclear time trial.
Yeah.
Second best performance of all time?
Well, nah, it's Plateau de Bay, and then I'd say the Périgord TT last year was pretty good from Boggy.
Yeah, I think in the context of the year 2023.
Oh, you mean adjusting for era?
Adjusting for eraflation.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good TT. I would say maybe maybe I'm wrong on the Remco intermediate today. That Jonas intermediate, the second intermediate time check in the Combloux TT, that was it. Yeah, I think I've over-egged the pudding. I don't think it's that surprising that Remco.
I don't want to be that guy, Patrick, but I swear we had some prediction contest going on in this race, and I think I'm cooking you.
You probably are. Okay, so here's Pogacar's defending 4:32. Del Toro's defending the podium by 20 seconds. I don't know what Trek are going to do. I think I would switch to Skjelmoser, but we'll see. I think they'll just both work together. And then Lenny and Pidcock are happy where they are defending. And then top 10 battle's going to be pretty fun, I think. So moving to tomorrow's stage, from Chambéry to Voiron. This is where Decathlon CMA CGM, their team is based. Chambéry, I think 175 Ks, 3,000 meters. Oh no, less, 2,300 meters elevation gain. This stage is really not that hard. But I don't think Pogacar can win it, and I don't think UAE will chase. So every single team will want to go on the breakaway. We have uphill 50 Ks with 6% climbing. We have an intermediate sprint deep in the stage, like far from the, really far from the start, 150 Ks in. So that's like 3.5 hours in. The finish is like 2.5 K, 4% climb, and then a flat last couple of Ks. I think, where's Pedersen in the thingy? Pedersen has a lead of 31 points ahead of Philipsen. Tomorrow's stage, I don't know why Pro Cycling Stats will not add how many points are available on Tour de France stages, but I don't have it.
I think it's a 50-pointer.
50-pointer?
Is my assumption.
It should be. It's not that hard. On paper.
So if it's a 50-pointer, then like my pick for the stage is Pedersen. If he wins, he secures a green. If
but how does he win?
Breakaway with Simmons, with Vácek, same story as was it stage 3 or 4?
I don't think he needs to win to secure green.
I think it's ideal.
If he gets in this break without Philipsen and takes 25 points, it's done.
Yeah, but Philipsen will try to be on his wheel.
If Philipsen's in the break, you don't take it to a sprint. You have to then let Vácek or Simmons win.
Are you shredded?
Where?
At some point? Not that hard of a parkour, but...
I think it's quite an interesting stage. It's because, like, you're not dropping Philipsen if he's got teammates after the Cat 3.
If you're Pedersen, you don't want to sprint from the peloton either.
I agree. They have to go in the break and they shred the start and get in the break without Philipsen.
Ideally, yes. Correct.
And if Philipsen makes it, Philipsen, what do you mean? He's not going to make it.
Philipsen's going to try to be in that breakaway.
He ain't going to make
3.57% climb, going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But it's not like completely impossible.
It's not impossible. It depends on the mood of Van der Poel to help him. Like if Van der Poel, if Albertson really put a team strategy together with Van der Poel to make it happen that Philipsen can sprint for the win, I think it's possible. Most likely,
I think so too.
Break. Because also, like, they cannot. Ricard and Dillier will just get dropped, so you can't wait for them. It has to be via the break. I think them trying to control it can only happen if NSN bail them out to sprint.
Controversially, I think Van der Poel wants to win tomorrow.
Like, you reckon they'd rather let NVDP go for the win than be chained to Philipsen?
I don't know if it's their team choice, but I think Van der Poel himself wants to win tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so too. Because that's the thing. If Trek get in the break with Philipsen and he passes that climb, then you have to then make sure someone else wins the stage to minimize the maximum points available. So I think it's going to be a break win, and I think Simmons and Vácek might get their chance. Who's fast in a small group? They're going to anticipate. Got Wellens, we got Plapp and Schmidt. Could it be a Schmidt double?
Like, we're talking about this in the fashion of, Pedersen needs to finish it tomorrow. There's also a world in which...
No, he doesn't.
Having a breakaway without Trek and Philipsen, by having the break taking all the points the entire day, he's still 30 points ahead at the end of the day, isn't he?
Exactly, that's fine as well. But I would say this is where he can make that intermediate and Philipsen can't. Whereas...
I think it's not impossible for Philipsen to make that intermediate. But Trek needs to have like a proper plan for the first 50k.
It depends where the break forms. If the break doesn't form early and Philipsen's still there at the bottom of that Cat 3, he's not going to get dropped by that much. Like, he can come back.
Anyway, my pick is Pedersen.
I think the green jersey will take him out of it. I'm going Quinn Simmons.
Okay. Very possible. He looked fantastic on the Plateau de Célisson stage.
Team GC also very, very big tomorrow. These are sort of stages that matter a lot for that. I think...
So Wellens will go in the break and Vermeers to counter Little Trek?
Vermeers not getting in the break. It's uphill at the start.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
McNulty. It's going to... UAE have to have 2 in the break. They have to. What's the status of Team GC?
It's 23 seconds, the lead for Little Trek.
No. Oh, this is the best battle of the tour so far.
I think Ayuso crumbling is the downfall already, so...
Nah. Trek are going to go 3 in the break tomorrow, and they're going to try to take back 5 minutes.
That's fine, but they're going to lose more than that in the mountain stage to come.
Will they?
Yeah.
Derek G versus Adam Yates. It's not Del Toro against Ayuso. It's Derek G against Adam Yates.
Well, it's not just G versus whatever McNulty or something. It's also next to that Del Toro versus Skelmoza, Pogacar versus Ayuso.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that difference will win over Adam Yates. Adam Yates is not a bad cyclist.
He's not. But
Pretty
what
good
about
yesterday.
What about
Well, 2
stage
days ago.
21? Tim Wellens, he's drunk, right? He's hungover, and he gets the call that he has to ride full to the finish to be the third rider on Champs-Élysées. Because Trek are going to they have 3 classics riders.
There's a realistic chance that Champs-Élysées gets GC neutralized again.
Oh. Totale assurdità dell'uoche. Okay. But yeah, that would be funny if they're like Wellens is like, I've just won the Tour de France again. I want a day off, and it's like Team GC, buddy.
I think UAE take it.
Probably. All right. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll have the recap of the transition stage tomorrow. Until then, ciao.